Imagine for a moment that you could breathe without moving your chest, without inhaling, without using your lungs. Would that even be possible? Or have we been so conditioned to view breathing as a mere biological function that we have forgotten its profound, invisible and sacred dimension? From the moment we come into the world, life seems to begin with a spectacular act. The newborn's cry, the sudden expansion of the lungs, the first breath. We believe that this is where life begins, breathing, but it's not as if a rhythm already existed within us before that first breath. While we were still floating in the ocean of amniotic fluid, carried by the liquid calm of the womb, it wasn't a breath of oxygen but of energy. It wasn't a physiological act, but a profound vibrational movement that connected us to the essential flow of existence. This form of primal, pure and subtle breathing is known as embryonic breathing, and although its name sounds poetic, its practice is profound. This video takes you to the heart of a wisdom that has remained silent, preserved by mystical traditions that understood that true energy does not enter through the nose, but through the invisible centers of the energetic body, notably the lower dantian, located about 3 fingers below the navel. The energetic matrix where, according to the ancient Taoists, not only biological life is born, but also the spiritual alchemy of being. Embryonic breathing does not seek oxygenation, but unite. It unites body, mind, and soul in a silent dance where the air doesn't move, but the energy does. It's a breath felt not in the chest, but deep in the belly. It can't be heard because it produces no sound, but it silently transforms the practitioner's vibrational structure. In a world where fear has invaded the body, where breathing has become shallow, agitated and fragmented, this ancestral practice represents a return to the source, a reminder that we are not made. It's not about desperately gasping for air, but rather about invoking the spirit of the air within and mindfully holding it. In this video, I'll explain precisely what embryonic breathing is and how it differs from other methods. I'll show you how it was once used by wise monks and internal alchemists, and how you can begin to reconnect with this deep memory that lives on in your energy body, even if your mind has forgotten it. Prepare yourself, because this knowledge does not belong to this world. Modernity is a door that opens only to those willing to remember their breathing before they were anyone, when they were still just a presence. Today you will learn to breathe as you did before you had a name, a story or a form, and in that memory, you may find something deeper than air, your purest energy in the history of humanity. The most sacred forms of knowledge were transmitted not by words, but by presence. The master did not teach, he radiated, and the student learned not by the mind but by the body. Embryonic breathing is one of those silent intuitions, not written in books but encoded in the posture of the sage, in the calm of his womb, where his energy rested undisturbed. Most people believe that the first breath occurs at birth, but for the ancient Taoist schools, this moment marks the beginning of separation, the disconnection from the universal flow to enter a fragmented existence. True breathing, the ancients said, precedes air. In classical Taoist alchemical texts, such as the Key of Canton or the Canon of Harmony between the three, it is described that breathing does not depend on oxygen, but on kiel. It permeates the entire kial. It neither enters nor leaves in the usual sense. It moves in a spiral, condenses in the lower abdomen, and circulates within, nourishing the organs, balancing the mind, and awakening consciousness. The sages of the inner lineage, known as Naden or internal alchemists, asserted that before breathing through the nose, one must first breathe through the spiritual navel, the energy center that still vibrates at the point where the umbilical cord was once attached. From there, into the uterus, the embryo effortlessly received nutrients, information, and energy. This is the purest, most forgotten primordial breath. The fascinating thing is that this concept is not only reserved for the Tao. In Hinduism, especially in Tantra, and schools of subtle pranayama, we speak of breathless breathing known as Quibbala, Kumbhaka, a state in which the energy moves even more evenly. When the body is still and air circulates neither in nor out, experienced yogis train for years to achieve this state, a suspension of physical breathing that activates the flow of prana through the body's subtle channels and awakens the higher centers of consciousness. Even in early Christianity, and the esoteric teachings of the Middle East, the breath of the spirit or ruach is described as a life force that is not oxygen, but a divine presence. This breath does not require lungs to be received. It is inhaled with the soul, not the mind, the nose. Why do all these traditions agree that there is a way to breathe beyond air? Because they understood that the physical body is only part of a much larger system, and that true power resides in the energetic body. Breathing from this body not only restores inner balance, but also connects the practitioner to the universal field, where there is no separation between who I am and what I desire. Therefore, embryonic breathing is not a new technique, but a return to the most ancient sources, a bridge to the state of oneness that precedes thought, identity, and will. In this state, nothing is sought, for everything is already present. The Taoists knew this. The yogis knew it. The mystics of all time have perceived it in their most peaceful moments. The most powerful breath is the one you don't hear. And when you learn to activate this forgotten breath, you remember from the deepest part of your being who you were before you became someone. When you hear the word breathe, you probably think of air. It enters through the nose, expands the lungs, and oxygenates the blood. But what if I told you it's only a superficial manifestation of a deeper, subtler, and more primal form of breathing? Embryonic breathing isn't a physical technique, but a state of consciousness. It's not about moving air, but rather about moving energy without moving the body. And this energetic movement begins in a place forgotten by the modern world. The vital center of the lower abdomen, known in Taoist tradition as the lower dantian. This center that is neither an organ nor a muscle, but a vibratory core, is considered the energetic matrix of the human being. Life springs from it. And it is there that one must return if one wishes to awaken vitality, which does not depend on effort, but rather on harmonization with embryonic breathing. When the practitioner stops breathing, like a being inhaling air, and begins to breathe as an energy field. In this practice, there is neither expansion of the chest nor excitation of the diaphragm. The external body is completely still, but inside, something glows like a silent ember, yet warming from within. Imagine for a moment a glowing sphere in your belly, a sphere that breathes without moving, a sphere that, with each cycle, collects the dispersed energy of your body, condenses it, and returns it to the heart. This is embryonic breathing, a vibrational alchemy that reconfigures your field from the inside out. How do you access this practice? First, through calm, which soothes the mind, normal breathing, which even dampens the impulse of embryonic breathing, can only be activated when the ego withdraws, when you no longer want to control anything. Only then does the sensation begin that your body is breathing from another place. A place without name, without form, without expectations. On a physiological level, you may be sitting in total stillness, but on an energetic level, an expansion manifests from the center outward, as if every cell were preparing to original frequency. This is not a suggestion. It is a reconnection to a biological and spiritual memory that lies dormant within us. All the ancients compared this process to the heartbeat of the universe, a rhythm that has no sound but that pulses through all living beings. Embryonic breathing allows you to enter this rhythm not as a visitor, but as part of the whole. The energy body, this invisible field that supports your physical body, begin to breathe as one. There is no entry or exit, only a flow. And in this, tensions dissipate. Stagnant emotions find an outlet. The nervous system enters a state of profound regeneration, and above all, the mind effortlessly calms, anchored to the heart, the energetic center of the being. By practicing embryonic breathing, you simply allow something deeper to flow within you. It's as if the universe is breathing into your body again, reminding you with each cycle that you are not alone, flesh and thought, but a living presence capable of renewing itself from its origin to the present day. We have spoken of embryonic breathing as a means of accessing the energetic center of the being, a way of reconnecting with the original state of the soul before it entered the body. But this practice, like any true inner art, conceals paradoxes that defy common logic. It is not just a matter of changing one's breathing, but of unlearning one's relationship to time, the body, and energy. One of the first major challenges for those embarking on this path is the lack of any immediate sensation confirming the existence of embryonic breathing. No panting, no intense emotions, no visible body heat. Yet, this is precisely where the secret of breathing is revealed, in the invisibility of its power. The Taoist sages said that the master does not need to move to transform, nor speak to teach. Likewise, the experienced practitioner does not need to shake his body to. The energy in embryonic breathing, the most powerful movement, is the one that goes unnoticed, and it is precisely the first veil that must be crossed, the need for a test of control of immediacy. The one who is impatient will not be able to access the subtle rhythm of the energetic body, because this form of breathing does not adapt to the time of the ego, but to the time of the soul, which is internally cyclical, closer to the movement of the moon than to that of the clock. Another profound teaching of this technique is that the body is not a tool but a temple that listens. In the West, we are accustomed to using our bodies to accomplish things, to control our breathing, to force our posture, and to discipline our attention. Embryonic breathing, on the other hand, proposes the opposite. We listen to the body as if it were an oracle. We do not impose a rhythm on it, but rather allow it to remember its original rhythm. This rhythm is not learned, but memorized. It emerges when we free ourselves from conventional expectations and techniques and simply maintain our attention in the womb, as if accompanying the dream of a sacred being within us. Another paradox: this silent, effortless breathing has a profoundly transformative effect. Alchemists practicing inner meditation have described how, after weeks or months of practice, they feel a gentle warmth in their abdomen, a kind of inner sun that never goes out, even at rest. This warmth is not physical but energetic, and marks the beginning of a transmutation, the awakening of the inner fire that promotes health, mental clarity, and spiritual growth. Unlike other practices, embryonic breathing seeks nothing, and that is precisely why it transforms everything. By activating the center, it silently reorganizes the flow of vital energy. The body becomes balanced, the mind becomes more receptive and less reactive. The heart calms down, as if it stops chasing the future and can finally live in the present. Moreover, embryonic breathing has an almost alchemical effect on dense emotions. It does not suppress or exploit them, but distills them, that is, transforms them into available energy. Fear becomes presence, sadness, compassion, anger, clarity. All of this happens without the practitioner needing to understand anything, because this practice does not speak the language of analysis, but rather that of the symbol of the body and the fertile void. Eventually, after weeks of breathing like this, something changes without one realizing it, and one day, the practitioner realizes that they are no longer living with the mind, but with the center, and from then on, everything that previously seemed difficult becomes easy, because they have learned to move like the universe without effort, but with purpose. Talking about embryonic breathing may seem like a distant journey, reserved for monks or secluded researchers in the mountains, yet in reality this practice, as old as the first heartbeat of the universe, requires neither a particular location nor extensive knowledge. It requires only one thing: learning to habituate yourself from silence. Here, I share 5 ways to integrate this wisdom into your daily life, not as a mere technique, but as a way to be deeper, more grounded, more present in the world. Start by awakening your center each morning, before looking at your phone, before speaking, and even before opening your eyes. Place your hands on your lower abdomen and breathe into this point. Don't disturb your breathing. Simply stay present in this invisible movement. You may not feel anything at first, but if you do this daily, your body will gradually remember this forgotten rhythm. This simple act has a profound effect. Instead of starting the day anxious and distracted, you enter the world from your center, and that changes everything. The energy of your day. Second, make silence an energetic ritual. The modern world is invaded by external, digital and emotional noise, but the Dantian, the embryonic breathing center, is only activated in silence, so give yourself 5 minutes of complete silence each day, not to meditate, but to observe yourself without interruption. Silence is not empty. It is a fertile space. Energy can reorganize itself. This is when you begin to hear the breath of the soul. Third, in moments of when you feel tension, anxiety, anger, or fear, stop. Don't think or analyze. Simply return to your center. Focus your attention on your lower abdomen and breathe gently. Imagine this point as a still sphere of energy while everything else moves. This simple gesture grounds you and brings you back to the present. More importantly, it separates you from the reactive ego and reconnects you to your physical wisdom. Fourth, nourish yourself as if you were carrying a sacred fire within you. Embryonic breathing has a physical equivalent of heat. Internal, this vital energy that nourishes from within. So pay attention to what goes into your body. Do not eat in haste or out of lack. Eat as if nourishing your body were a ritual act. As if each bite had the power to ignite the dantian. You will see that when you eat consciously, the energy is distributed differently. The body is grateful. The center is strengthened. The soul is rooted in the fifth place. Allow yourself to have nothing to do. With presence in a culture obsessed with productivity, resting with awareness is revolutionary practical. Staying still, without stimuli or purpose, not as an escape, but as a powerful affirmation that you are already accomplished. In these moments, something falls into place without you seeking it. Embryonic breathing can begin to reveal itself, not as an action you perform, but as something that happens when you finally give it time. Embryonic breathing is not a technique for improving your life. It is an art of reconnecting with life before you begin to want to improve it. And if you can integrate a little of this practice into your daily life, you will discover that it is not necessary. To transform the outside world and feel peace, all we need to do is remember who is breathing within us. Most people spend their lives breathing, never pausing to notice who is actually breathing. They breathe out of biological necessity, like a machine that never stops, but have rarely breathed with their souls, from that silent center that needs only presence, without air. And yet we all come into the world from this stillness, from a subtle rhythm that comes neither from the chest nor the lungs, but from the belly, from deep within ourselves, where energy forms before taking shape. Embryonic breathing is not an alternative technique, but a return, a reunion with the oldest, most intimate, and purest part of your being. It is as if an invisible thread had connected you to the moment when you were still nobody, and yet already a soul, floating in a limitless sea, breathing breathlessly, living without a name, and vibrating in perfect harmony with the pulse of existence. This video was an invitation to remember that true power is not found in effort or intensity, or even intellectual understanding. The true power lies in the ability to stop, to release expectations, to listen to your energy when you are still, and to let your body remember the way. It was breathing before you started wanting to control everything. Do you know now that there is a way of breathing that does not require air, but attention? Your vital center is not your mind or your heart, but the dantian, the energetic womb of your soul. Stillness is not inactivity, but the secret language of the subtle body. And the fact that the deepest fire is not ignited by will, but by surrender. Breathing like this is more than a meditative act. It is a sacred gesture, a silent declaration that says, I am ready to let go and remember. And in doing so, life changes, for by breathing from the center, all that previously seemed scattered takes shape. The noise fades, the fear dissipates, and all that remains is a profound sense of belonging, as if finally you felt good inside. So if something you heard today resonated with you, if you sense that wisdom lurking deep within you, don't ignore it. Start today with at least 5 minutes of silence, listening to your instincts and the simple will to do nothing. The rest will follow. Simply subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and like the video so that more people can rediscover this forgotten art. Share this knowledge with someone who is trapped by the noise and needs to center themselves, and leave a comment. I breathe from the source, because it is not about adding something, but about returning to the essential. And in this silence, the universe breathes with you.